Okay, it's finally time. We're going to breastfeed. It's going to be great. Or is it? Something's not right. Is it the breast? Is it the latch? Is it the milk? Is the baby even getting enough? Let's talk.
Welcome back to Pocketbook Pediatrics. I'm Dr. Richelle Ann Brown, and as usual, I'm always so happy to have you here today. So, the last time we spent some time talking about breastfeeding and the benefits to mommy and baby. Today we're going to continue talking about breastfeeding, but we're going to talk a little bit about some of the common questions that you may have about breastfeeding. And I'd love to see your comments below about the problems you may have had when you were breastfeeding, or are the problems you might be having now. And I hope that you'll find some answers to your questions here today, or even just encouragement to continue. So the first question I think most people have is, can everybody breastfeed? And when I hear that question, it's really more a question, I think, of problems or concerns about breast size or nipple shape or nipple size. So some women may have very large nipples. Some women may have flat nipples or inverted nipples. Inverted meaning that they have a little dimple, so they're drawn in. And the answer to that question is yes. Most women, even with flat nipples, large nipples, inverted nipples, breastfeed without any difficulties at all. Now, where you might find the answer to any problems you may see would be mostly in positioning. So you might have to try different positions with baby. Maybe a football hold, maybe a cradle hold, maybe an on the chest hold, different things to help the baby get a good latch and be comfortable, and both of you be comfortable for the breastfeeding process. Now, women with large nipples, sometimes we do find, yes, particularly if they have a premature baby or a baby that has a small mouth, that baby may have some difficulties with latching onto that nipple at first. But no worries, it may mean that breast milk will have to be offered in a bottle at first, but as baby grows, there's still hope for successful breastfeeding afterwards. So don't give up, it can still be done. For women who have flat and inverted nipples, as I said, most babies don't have a difficulty at all. But if you do, there are things that can be done. So you can try stimulating the nipple through expression to kind of give the nipple a little bit more prominence. And sometimes the use of a nipple shield can be helpful as well. Another question people often ask is breastfeeding comfortable? And the answer to that one as well is yes, it should be. Now, there is some discomfort usually that is normal in the initiation periods of breastfeeding. But as you continue, we don't expect that there should be much pain after the first week, first two of that breastfeeding process, when both you and baby are a little bit more comfortable with how things should go. All right. So if breastfeeding is not comfortable, it usually is relating to a problem with how the baby is latching to the breast. And when we talk about a latch, we talk about a good latch or a poor latch, or better said, a deep latch or a shallow latch. Now, what we want is for the baby to have a good deep latch. What does that mean? It means that we don't want the baby to only be sucking on the nipple, but we want them to take in the areola as well. The areola is that dark part around the nipple. And that is where the milk ducts are. That's where all the milk is, the good stuff. So that's where when they suck, they get the milk from. Now, to achieve a good latch, or to know if baby has a good latch, we want to see that the mouth is wide open. We want to see that that lower lip is curled outward. We want to see that the nose and the upper lip are just a little bit away from the breast, and the cheeks are full. They're not drawn in when the baby sucks. And we know that the baby has had a good latch. And you should feel the sensation of your milk coming down as the baby sucks with a latch like that. When the latch is shallow or poor, it's really just taking in the nipple alone, which is causing a lot of abrasion there. And that area as well is very sensitive. So that could be what is causing your pain. So it's just to
learn how to get a better latch. And this can be achieved for your pediatrician, can help, and also can refer you to a lactation specialist who can check on you within those first couple days and weeks of life and initiation of the breastfeeding process. All right, so that's how we get over having painful or uncomfortable breastfeeding. Another question that is often coming up as well is the baby getting enough? And that's a very good question. It's very important, and it can be confusing in the first days of life, because remember that colostrum that we spoke about? It's a small amount that is initially there, and it's a small amount because it's very concentrated, but it's enough in the first few days of life. Now, as your mature milk comes in, as the baby continues to suck, and as you continue to get used, the body continues to get used to the idea that, oh, milk is needed, then you'll have a higher volume of milk coming in, and that will be enough for baby as well. But how do you know that baby is getting the right amount? Well, there are ways that we measure it, really do with the baby's hydration. Now, how do we know if the baby is hydrated? We look at how much urine they're passing, just like us, and we look at how much stool they're passing. And the third thing that we look at is their weight gain. So that's why those initial visits in the first days and weeks of life are so important, because we monitor these things to make sure that you and baby are getting on very well. So we expect by the first week that baby will be able to pass 6 to 8 wet diapers for the day, that they'll be able to pass 4 to 6 stool diapers for the day, or dirty diapers for the day. And we also expect that they will be gaining weight. Now, that first week of life for the weight is a little tricky in that we do expect some weight loss, but we also expect that by day 7 to 10, they will have regained all that weight and be back at their birth weight, and then should have progressively increasing weight if they're getting enough breast milk. So if you think that there are any difficulties, if you feel your baby is losing weight, please don't hesitate to go and talk to your pediatrician and see if a visit can be arranged to objectively assess that and reassure you and be sure that all things are well with you and your newborn. Another question that's often asked is, what can be done if my nipples are sore? So remember, I did say that there can be some discomfort that we expect for about a week as you and your baby get used to breastfeeding. But a week is still quite some time to deal with nipple soreness, and for some it may last a bit longer. Now, the soreness is expected because your breast, as I said, is getting used to the new manipulation of the nipple and the areola, and there can be some abrasion there. So some things that can be done range from simple interventions like being sure to ensure that your breasts are dry before you put them back in your brassiere after a feeding. All right, and you don't want to pat dry, but just leave them to air dry after a feeding. When you wipe, it helps to wipe away the natural oils that are there, which also removes the moisture and worsens the soreness that you're having. So air drying. When you take a bath as well, you want to make sure you use gentle soaps and ensure that you're fully dry before putting your brassiere back on. As we speak about brassieres, you can use special nursing brassieres which have a little padding. You can use breast shells, which help to keep the breast and nipple off of your clothing as well, so that they can reduce that amount of friction and abrasion from clothing. And you can also use topical agents, although the efficacy of these has been variable between women. But if you do choose to use a topical, please be sure it doesn't have petroleum or vitamin E. These can be harmful to baby. All right? And of course, be sure that if you do see a little bit of residual ointment on your breast before feeding, you wipe that gently, but generally you don't have to. And also the question of how can daddy help? Because of course daddy can't breastfeed, but there are many things that he can do. He can still be very present during the breastfeeding process. He can be very supportive during the breastfeeding process. He can be very active in getting other things done that you may need done. And of course, there's always the option of expressing some of your breast milk and allowing daddy to feed by bottle, which will also become useful if you have to go back out to work, or if you're not well, or any other reasons why you may not be able to
provide a breastfeed at that time. Daddy will be able to help and bond as well with baby. I must say as well, it's okay to take a little Panadol or ibuprofen if you are having pain. It should not cause any difficulties or problems for you or your baby, and should provide some amount of comfort and ease for you to continue the breastfeeding process. So I hope that these answers have given you some encouragement today, that you know that you're not alone in this process. Please don't ever feel that you have to take it on all by yourself. You have a family, you have a pediatric team. We're here to help you succeed in your breastfeeding journey. I hope that you moms who have been through it will really put those comments below. You never know how your tips and tricks might encourage a young mom who's just starting her journey. And please look at those links of those breastfeeding support sites. They're there to help you. We're here to help you. I really look forward to seeing you next time on Pocketbook Pediatrics. God bless.